You know what's fascinating? Our brains process an estimated 11 million bits of sensory information every second, but most people can only consciously handle about 40 bits. And for those with AuDHD, that processing gets even more complicated. Welcome to this episode of AuDHD Burnout. I'm Nipo Mano, and as a mother with AuDHD, I'm no stranger to sensory overload. The constant barrage of sounds, sights, and emotions can be overwhelming, making it hard to keep up with my responsibilities as a mom, wife, and individual. In this episode, we'll explore how sensory overload affects my life and share practical tips on managing it naturally. Sensory overload is like a constant hum in the background, draining my energy and making everyday tasks feel like climbing a mountain. As a mom with AuDHD, I'm more prone to sensory overload due to my brain's heightened sensitivity. The chaos of family life, work, and social expectations can be overwhelming, leaving me feeling discouraged and burnt out. Sensory overload affects every aspect of my life. It can make me irritable, anxious, and withdrawn. Simple tasks like grocery shopping or cooking dinner become daunting challenges. I often feel like I'm walking on eggshells waiting for the next overwhelming stimulus. It's exhausting and isolating.
That really puts it in perspective. No wonder sensory overload can feel so overwhelming. And we're exploring this through the lens of someone who lives it every day.
Exactly right. And what's particularly interesting is how this impacts everyday life. Like, imagine trying to cook dinner when every pot clanking, timer beeping, and food smell is amplified to what feels like maximum volume.
Hmm, it's almost like having your internal sensitivity dial permanently stuck at 11, isn't it?
Well, that's exactly what we're seeing in the research. The brain's filtering system just works differently. And what really caught my attention was how this constant background hum that's literally draining our energy.
You know what surprised me most? The connection between certain foods and sensory sensitivity. Like, who would have thought that something as common as instant noodles could actually make symptoms worse?
Oh, that's such a crucial point, and it ties into some fascinating research about inflammation and neural sensitivity. The processed foods we've eliminated, sugar, coffee, alcohol, they're all known to increase inflammatory markers in our brain.
So, if we're looking at the flip side, what about those brain supporting foods we've mentioned? The nuts, garlic, turmeric.
Right. Those are particularly interesting because they contain compounds like curcumin and omega 3s that have been shown in studies to help regulate neurotransmitter function. And when you're dealing with sensory processing challenges, that regulation becomes super important.
That makes me think about the broader implications for anyone dealing with sensory issues, not just those with AUDHD. Like, could these dietary changes help others?
Well, the research suggests yes, there's growing evidence that what we eat directly impacts our nervous system's sensitivity. But what's really fascinating is how we can combine these dietary changes with other natural approaches, like those specific flower essences. The Centaurian cherry plum are great. If you would like to understand more about how those work, let me know in the comments and I can prepare a vlog explaining the use in our routine and others' benefits. The same for the garlic and others products mentioned before. So these flower essences are believed to work on an energetic level. Centauri specifically is known for helping establish better boundaries, which makes sense when you're dealing with overwhelming sensory input, and cherry plum helps calm an overactive mind.
And we can add some specific herbal teas, lavender, chamomile, and mint. That's quite a comprehensive approach.
You know what's interesting about those particular herbs? They've actually been studied for their effects on GABA receptors in the brain. Those are the ones responsible for helping us feel calm. It's like creating this natural support system for an oversensitive nervous system.
That's fascinating how these traditional remedies align with modern neuroscience. What about those breathing exercises we've mentioned?
Oh, this is where it gets really interesting. Recent studies have shown that specific breathing patterns can actually alter our vagal tone, which directly affects how our nervous system responds to stimuli. It's like having a remote control for your stress response.
Well, that certainly explains why you consider them an essential tool in our family management strategy.
Exactly. And when you combine all these approaches, you're essentially creating multiple layers of support. Think of it like building a sensory shield, piece by piece.
Speaking of building things piece by piece, let's talk about how we can handle those challenging daily tasks, like grocery shopping becoming this mountain to climb.
That's such an important point because it highlights how sensory overload affects every aspect of life. The fluorescent lights, countless product choices, background music, other shoppers, it's like a perfect storm of sensory input. Well, that's where this systematic approach really shines. We've essentially created this comprehensive toolkit, from dietary changes to herbal supports to mindfulness practices. It's not about eliminating the challenges completely, but about building resilience.
That reminds me of something interesting I read recently about neuroplasticity, how these kinds of consistent practices can actually help rewire our response to sensory input over time. I think that's fascinating, and it really explains why this kind of holistic approach can be so effective. You're not just managing symptoms, you're potentially creating lasting changes in how our brain processes sensory information.
And I imagine that has huge implications for long term quality of life. Imagine you cannot drive all of your life, and then things starts to changes completely. This happened with me. Was a game change, and what's particularly encouraging is how accessible many of these strategies are. You don't need expensive equipment or complicated protocols. Sometimes it's as simple as brewing the right cup of tea or taking a few mindful breaths.
Though I imagine consistency is key here, making these practices part of your daily routine rather than just emergency responses.
That's such an important point. It's about building what researchers call resilience reserves. You're not just reacting to overwhelm, you're proactively building your capacity to handle sensory input.
And I suppose that's especially crucial for parents who often can't just step away when things get overwhelming.
Exactly. And this ties into some interesting research about the impact of parent well being on family dynamics. When parents have better tools for managing their own sensory challenges, it often leads to more positive interactions with their children.
That makes perfect sense. It's like the airplane oxygen mask principle, right? You have to take care of yourself to be able to help others effectively.
Well said. And it's worth noting that these strategies can be beneficial for anyone dealing with sensory sensitivity, whether they have a formal diagnosis or not. The brain's processing of sensory information exists on a spectrum.
Looking ahead, what do you think are the biggest implications of this approach to sensory management?
I think we're seeing a real shift in how we understand and address sensory challenges. Instead of just trying to avoid triggers or push through overwhelm, we're developing these sophisticated natural approaches that work with our biology rather than against it.
That's really encouraging for anyone dealing with these challenges.
And what's particularly exciting is how this knowledge keeps evolving. New research is constantly emerging about the connections between diet, nervous system function, and sensory processing. It's opening up more and more possibilities for natural management strategies.
So, what would you say is the key takeaway for someone just starting to explore these approaches?
I'd say it's about recognizing that managing sensory challenges is a journey, not a destination. Start small, maybe with one herbal tea or a simple breathing practice, and build from there. It's about creating a sustainable toolkit that works for your unique situation. First, I try to remember that the struggle is real. Sensory overload is like a constant hum in the background, draining our energy and making everyday tasks feel like climbing a mountain. As a mom with AuDHD, I'm more prone to sensory overload due to my brain's heightened sensitivity. The chaos of family life, work, and social expectations can be overwhelming, leaving me feeling discouraged and burnt out. Second, really impacts our daily life. Sensory overload affects every aspect of my life. It can make me irritable, anxious, and withdrawn. Simple tasks like grocery shopping or cooking dinner become daunting challenges. I often feel like I'm walking on eggshells, waiting for the next overwhelming stimulus. It's exhausting and isolating. Understand your triggers and making lifestyle changes. To manage sensory overload, it's essential to understand our triggers and make lifestyle changes. Keeping a sensory journal can help identify patterns and develop targeted strategies. I've also found that focusing on nutrient-dense foods, avoiding processed and trigger foods, and prioritizing good sleep hygiene can make a significant difference. Regular physical activity, like walking or yoga, can also help regulate sensory experiences. Find sensory management strategies. In addition to lifestyle changes, there are several sensory management strategies that can help. Mindfulness and relaxation techniques, like deep breathing exercises and meditation, can calm the nervous system. Creating a sensory-friendly environment by adjusting lighting, temperature, and noise levels can also be beneficial. I also use sensory grounding techniques like holding a comfort object or walking barefoot to help regulate my senses. Natural remedies and therapeutic approaches really helps. They're helping our family. Natural remedies like herbal teas and flower essences can also be helpful in managing sensory overload. I found that lavender, chamomile, and mint promote relaxation and calmness. Flower essences like centauri and cherry plum can help manage sensory sensitivity and build resilience. Additionally, therapeutic approaches like somatic therapy, occupational therapy, and cognitive behavioral therapy can provide valuable tools and strategies for managing sensory overload. 7. Starts relaxation techniques for sensory overload. Another technique that I find helpful is taking a bath with rosemary and rose. The combination of these herbs can increase energetic vibration, promote relaxation, and reduce sensory overload. Rosemary is known for its cleansing, protective, and revitalizing properties, while roses are associated with raising vibration, love, and positivity. By incorporating this bath into my self-care routine, I'm able to calm my nervous system and reduce feelings of overwhelm. I do prefer making a head-to-toe shampoo bar using fresh herbs and rose petals, which is more practical for daily showering. Leave a comment and let me know if you want the recipe. I will be happy to share with you. 8. Remember the importance of support systems. Finally, having a support system in place is crucial for managing sensory overload. This can include professional support from therapists or support groups, community connection with others who share similar experiences, and educating and loved ones about our sensory needs. By working together, we can create a supportive environment that allows us to thrive. Sensory overload is a challenge, but it's not insurmountable. By making simple changes to our diet, incorporating natural remedies, and prioritizing self-care, we can find more calm in the chaos. If you're struggling with sensory overload, I hope this episode has given you some practical tips and reassurance that you're not alone. Thanks for tuning in, and remember to subscribe for more episodes on AuDHD and burnout. Mahalo.